What we say is, if you're in this space, this is intriguing to you, reach out to us. Let's jump on a call. We encourage crawl, walk, run. We will send you package from our fulfillment center. What you're going to see is that within 6 days, you're going to have a USPS driver delivered to your house. You're going to have a USPS tracking link to track it the whole way through. You're not going to see any Mandarin anywhere. You're going to have a fully localized experience. And I don't care if you live in the US or London, in England or Australia. You're going to have a fully localized experience, and that will blow your mind.
You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by TDO, the highest rated live chat software on Shopify. Now, TDO helps Shopify merchants to gain and retain more customers with personalized shopping experiences. Now, with TDO, you can recommend products and offer discounts based on the user's behavior and their order history without leaving the chat widget. Now, TDO also takes the pressure off your support team, and the app really enables you to manage all of your communication channels from one dashboard, and literally it can automate up to 47% of your recurring questions. So it's pretty amazing with a great time saver. You can increase your customer satisfaction and sales with personalized shopping experiences. You can learn more by visiting tdo.com/fastlane. That's TIDIO.com/fastlane. And there you can start a TDO Premium Edition with an exclusive discount for E-commerce Fastlane listeners only. So make sure you punch in the special code Fastlane. Well, hey there. Welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. With plenty of podcast choices, both for founders and for marketers in e-commerce, retail, and the direct-to-consumer space, I massively appreciate the fact they're taking time and listening to the show today. I release new episodes. They come out twice weekly, and they're available from all of your favorite podcast apps like Apple, Spotify, and Google. We're also now on Amazon Music and YouTube. So if you consume any of your podcasts on those platforms, you might want to go check that out. Now, to get the full value of today's episode, you can click through from whatever podcast app you're using, and there it'll redirect you to ecommercefastlane.com, and you'll have the links and some of the resources that we mentioned today. So today, my guest is Izzy Rosenzweig, who is the founder and CEO of a company called Portless, and they're at Portless, so Portless.com. Now, Portless fulfills e-commerce orders directly from China to customers' doorsteps, all while saving direct-to-consumer and e-commerce brands both months and months of time and money. I know there's a lot of misconceptions right now about building a brand and shipping directly from China, this whole churn and burn and craziness going on with drop shipping. Today, I can guarantee you that we're going to get all the knowledge from someone who's very, very deep in this China to North America or China to international without having to have the products and all the craziness that goes along with bringing containers in and the duties and taxes. It's a very, very interesting conversation today. So hi, Izzy. Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Thank you for having me, Steve. Super excited to be here.
It's interesting. I had no idea that Portless even existed. I somehow through social media, I found you and I'm like, wow, this is so interesting because it's very counterintuitive about what it means to, start a business and drop ship from China. It seems that, Alibaba and AliExpress and, Tmall and all these kind of like marketplaces that Shopify connects to. It's so interesting that that model's available, but it has this really negative stigma, unfortunately. And I think you have like almost a paradigm shift. We're like, no, there's many people, including yourself, successfully implementing fulfillment from China to any international market, including, Canada and the US. So I'd like to talk a little bit about just Portless first on a high level and your kind of unique value proposition for brands.
Absolutely. So first, from a high level, and I think you nailed it, sir, right? Which is cross-border commerce, unfortunately, has a bad name from some of the other brands that leverage it. But if you think about cross-border commerce, there's two aspects to it. There's the quality of the product and then the logistics. The quality of the product is all in the control of the brands that manufacture overseas. So companies like AliExpress and companies sometimes even like Temu, they might not take the quality that you would use in your brand. But some of the best brands in the world are manufactured in China. If you think of like Apple, and 40% of local DTC brands manufactured in China. And the idea there is that you own your brand, and as someone that owns a brand, it's up to you to have incredible quality. Now, the magic in cross-border commerce is the logistics side. And that's what we do at Portless. We essentially help brands ship your great quality product with a fully localized experience to the US market and many other markets around the world. US within 5 days, United Kingdom even faster. So your customer will have a USPS fully localized delivery, while you as a brand massively improves cash flow, improves margins, and many other efficiencies with along the way. No container cost. If the value of goods is under $100, it is duty free. Accessing international markets very easily and a cost affordable rate. So really what we help with DTC brands is you take your incredible brand, we will give your customer the incredible local experience from a shipping perspective. And now you have the best of all worlds. Consumers getting a local experience, and you as a brand being right next to the factory, you can lower your inventory needs because you can restock really quickly at a very cost-effective rate.
You bring up a good point about the international markets, because it's one of the conversations I have a lot with, the book of merchants that I have. And part of it is, hey, how do I expand into other markets other than, let's say they're an American brand and they're like, pushing to get into Canada. And they're like, okay, well, now I'm in Canada. Where else can I go next? Because the market is significant. I mean, North American market is small in relation to like the global market. And I know Shopify brought out this thing called Markets and Markets Pro, and this allows for merchant of record. And there's quite a few complexities. I think I forget the name of the company that is helping fulfill the orders on behalf of the Shopify brand. But what's interesting though is the fees that come out of that. Like it's 6% right off the top just to allow that transaction to happen, plus all of the costs associated to the merchant of record and the merchant fees. That's another 3%. So it's like 6 to 9% is like gone off the top just to have the opportunity to be able to ship into international markets and have some kind of like legal framework around the fulfillment part of it. You have a whole different angle to that, though. You can still get the quality of the product still made in China, but shipping direct. I just want to understand your mindset around people choosing to ship from America to international markets versus kind of how you're decidedly different.
Yeah, and you nailed it, first of all, from a Shopify perspective. The world is a very big place. Accessing customers around the world has to be part of your plan because the cost of marketing and the cost of servicing these customers is way cheaper. Now, Shopify has massively simplified this ability. With a click of a button, you could, with Shopify Markets, not Pro, plain markets, you could access all these markets from a currency perspective, from a landing page perspective. It really is that simple. And with their built-in taxes, you can charge the right amount of taxes from a VAT perspective. So from a digital perspective, it is so easy. Well, the other side of that is supply chain. Okay, you could turn it on from a digital perspective. Now, how do you service them? So really, there's been two models until today that other people use, not our model. One is you put containers all over the world. So you shipped 1,000 units to UK, 1,000 units to Australia, 1,000 units to Canada, 1,000 units to US. Now, the problem is, what happens if something doesn't sell? Your inventory is stuck. What happens if something sells out? Well, now how do you move inventory from Canada to Australia? Because, it's a very inefficient way of doing it, but businesses do it. And it's a very annoying way to do it. Another model is importing into the States, you're bringing in by bulk, you're paying all the import duties, and then you got to ship it by, I think DHL Commerce is the largest offer, but it costs about $25 to ship to Australia and Canada and Germany. So it's really expensive. In our model, we're saying is, hey, keep your inventory near your factory. You don't need to bring in bulk at a time. Bring in as much inventory as you need. We'll restock all day for you. We don't charge for restocking. And then shipping from China with a local experience, Royal Mail, to the UK within 5 days, $4.44 for half a pound. To Germany, $5.14. Australia, $7.07. So really what we could do is we could give your customer a local experience, Australia Post, Royal Mail, Canada Post, USPS, while reducing your inventory risk. So you have Shopify to simplify the technology side. We can massively simplify your supply chain side.
This is amazing. Yeah, this is going to save people a lot of money. I think margins, we talk about like ROAS and the CAC right now, just driving like net new customers to your website. It's quite expensive to acquire new customers, and knowing that, man, you can instantly shave off a lot of margin right away by the stuff you're already importing. Instead of doing it by containers, you can actually do it through Portless. So I just, I want to back up a tiny bit, because I think I want to make sure people understand like about your background and kind of like how you got involved in this industry, because I know you have your own direct-to-consumer brand and you really have cut your teeth a little bit, so to speak, kind of in this space. And it's currently live as from what I understand. So I just like to understand that history of getting involved in D2C, and then now making this pivot now into being in the fulfillment partner now.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I've been actually a DTC owner for about 10 years before I started Portless. So I've like dealt with every single pain point of growing the consumer business.
Yeah.
And it's painful, right?
Yeah.
From your product being really successful, all of a sudden you got to buy more inventory, and all that inventory stuck in the water. By the time it lands, the season passed. Now you got to wait till next year. Dealing with local OpEx of massive warehouses to handle it, trying to sell internationally. I've dealt with all of that. And at least for me, I got fortunate early on where I got introduced to the former CFO of Alibaba, where he became an advisor and eventually an investor, and introduced me to this new evolution, this evolving space of cross-border logistics. It is getting more and more efficient. So I've been doing that for about 10 years as a brand. And in the early days, the delivery times were slower than they were today, right? They weren't as great. 2-3 weeks. They were on the tracking number. There used to be Mandarin everywhere. So the early days of this model wasn't great. And that's where a lot of the bad rap came from. Yeah. So the bad rap came from the early days of long delivery times, as well as the brands that used this model never didn't double down on brand quality, or didn't, put their brand first and quality first and customer first. But over the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years, because of the incredible volume of the space, the reliability of logistics is incredible. It's, again, within 6 days, you have delivered in anywhere continental US, right? For $5.86, half a pound, anywhere continental US. UK, $4.44, local experience. So we saw with our customers, to them, it looked like we're in New York, and they're having this incredible experience. And for us, all of a sudden, we didn't need to put millions of dollars in inventory, because we stock it all the time from the factory. So we could have less inventory and not only, besides having less inventory, we had almost no wait time from inventory to cash. When we were in a traditional model, we'd wait 60 to 90 days to turn inventory to cash. Now it's 2 days. 2 days post-factory production, we're selling it to the customer. 6 days later, deliver to their front door. That was just all game-changing stuff for us. And then when we would sell apparel and, import duties, when you're bringing by bulk, could be anywhere from 20 to 37%. All of a sudden that went away because we're sending it to the end customer. Value under $80 is duty free. So for us, there was immediate cash flow benefits, immediate profit margins. And what ended up happening is in 2021, all of a sudden DTC brands realized, 1 second, top line isn't everything. We need to be profitable. We need to have great cash flow. Mm-hmm. So our investors asked us to speak to some of their other portfolio companies. And over the next few months, we realized, 1 second, we spent the 2 years building infrastructure here. Now let's help other DTC brands leverage the same opportunity, leverage this great cash flow, leverage better margins, and run healthier, more profitable businesses.
There's a saying out there about this MOQ, this minimum kind of quantity that you can actually purchase from China. And it's one of those things where, the more you buy, typically the better the deal is. What's your take on that now, knowing that? I know these containers being stuck in the ocean and stuff like that, if you're going to be bringing them over and losing that window. But how does this MOQ factor in to the offer that Portless has?
Yep, great question. So obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on your factory. So if you're in a very niche type of product, and they only make sense for the factory to make the molds. If you're doing 50,000 units, then okay, you're in a very specific area and you have no choice but to go with that model. But most products we've actually seen, at least for our customers, you can massively reduce the MOQ. Now, back in the day, we need to hit a container at a minimum, so we got to fill, a container. Let's do that MOQ. Now there's LTL, less container loads, so you could go a little bit less. But in general, as long as your product is pretty standard, anywhere from clothing to jewelry to cosmetics, you don't need to have massive MOQs anymore. And factories are being more and more agile to give you smaller batches. And not only that, let's just say you still want that 50,000 units. You don't need to wait till all 50,000 units are done. You could start sending boxes or skids to be filled as soon as these things are done. So definitely seeing a trend of lower MOQs as long as your product is not crazy unique.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah, like pre-signing on the dotted line with your supplier in China to saying, yeah, I'm committed to 10,000 pieces. It's going to take them, 20 days, 45 days to actually manufacture all of these. But man, oh man, when they're done and ready and boxed up and skidded, they kind of move their way over to your warehouse. Is that kind of how the process works?
Exactly. So I'll give you an example process. Typical customers using on a Shopify store. We usually like to hey, here's 3 packages. We want you to experience it. After they get it, 6 days later, 5-minute Zoom call. You have an app, you download, you map which products you want to send to us. And really what it is, instead of putting a product on a boat, you tell your factory, here's the address in China, send it there. Moving product within China is very cheap. So instead of putting on a boat, waiting 60, 90 days, 2 days later, it's in our fulfillment center and everything syncs automatically, right? Inventory syncs to you or location within Shopify. And you're ready to rock 2 days after production.
Wow. It's amazing. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at TDO. It's TIDIO.com. And they're the highest rated live chat software on Shopify. Literally, you can increase your customer satisfaction and sales with personalized shopping experiences. You can learn a lot more by heading on over to TDO.com/Fastlane, and you can start right away with a premium version. It's exclusively available on a special discount for e-commerce Fastlane listeners. You can check them out there, TDO.com/Fastlane, and use the promo code Fastlane. So I want to pivot a bit to a story right now because I think this is going to motivate people. I know you've done it for yourself and it's currently live kind of in your own opportunities, but you have so many customers now that are Portless customers. And so is there any one of note that you can talk about publicly to saying, hey, we used to self-fulfill or we used to drop ship directly, through AliExpress or Alibaba or we were bringing in our own containers, but just the profitability wasn't there. They've chose to use Portless. And then what happened on the other side when they've implemented and start executing with your solution?
Yeah, we're actually working some case studies right now, but I'll give you one example. There's one that's in the fish apparel business or the fishing apparel business. And summer is their most important season. They had thousands of hats that they wanted to catch the season for. It would have cost them thousands and thousands of dollars to get that in a fast way to their FC in the United States, anywhere from 6 to 10 days. So instead, they paid $100 to move these thousands of units from their factory to us, and we had it delivered 6 days later. So we were able to deliver it faster to their end customer and, tons and tons cheaper. And with all the savings besides there, no container costs, no import duties, effective shipping rates. And that just blew their mind out of the water. So they were in a position, they needed it fast. They were able to catch the season. And now we're onboarding all their SKUs. We had another customer that was in the yoga mat business, and they were months behind their order shipping because one of their containers came and was all defective. And they had to go back and reproduce it. But at this point, you got to wait another 60, 90 days. So instead of waiting another 60, 90 days, their factory was done production 7 days later. We fulfilled it 48 hours later after their factory was done, was in our warehouse, and we shipped all their backlog. So these are just 2 examples of products where they start as backlog and then they say okay, let's, this is a great model for us.
It's interesting you made a comment a little bit ago about these containers being stuck in the water. I was managing a brand that they were in the beauty business, and their number one SKU was a lighted LED lighted mirror. And they were selling 5,000 pieces a month. And then, the challenge for them, which is your opportunity, I should make a warm intro to you because it's just they're made in China and they knew it was 45 to 60 days. Even if they did an express option, the express option, they'd make no money. They had to throw that on a plane to get here. And the challenge was there, unfortunately, because they were so popular in that particular SKU, the whole 80-20 rule, 80% of their sales came from 20% of their SKUs. Well, this case, it was one SKU that was just massively doing well because of social media and the influencers and whatever the kids, and they ran out of stock. And then their business tanked. They were minus 50% over last year for about 3 months.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how much of a lost opportunity of capping your sales. When you're dealing with slow supply chain, When something sells out, you're stuck. But the trend is now, not tomorrow. Or it's Christmas now, not, you gotta wait till next. But in this model, you don't need to run out of stock. Your factory has, more in their warehouse, or they could do it in 7 days. Grab the opportunity when it's there, and not to run really a dinosaur supply chain. The supply chain is built for Walmart physical retail. It's crazy to do it for digital commerce and e-commerce.
Okay, I want to talk about returns. I think it's another one I find this interesting, and I just want to know like your take on how you manage it, or if the consumption happens, let's say in the US. I find like fashion and especially footwear. Holy moly, there's a lot of returns. Like I heard up to 40% returns, or people are buying 2 and 3 sizes, knowing they quote unquote get a free return. And they want the shoes, but they don't know what sizes for them. So they get the 5, the 5.5, and so. What's Portless's kind of workflow around that? Or do we use existing apps like the Loop Returns, the Narvars, and the Returnlys, Happy Return kind of, solution, customer support solution? But where does the product go and how do they manage it?
Yeah, great question. So we give our customers like a bunch of options. The first basic one is you can do what you're doing today, right? If you have a return service that you currently use, you don't need to use us. You have your own fulfillment center, no problem. But we have a fulfillment center in Pennsylvania. So if they want to use us, they could do as simple as returning stuff to us. We could inbound it. If they want QA done, we have a service to offer QA and then reshipment. And we can not only do that in the US, but we do this in all the major markets. So we have partners with return centers in every major market. So if you're doing Australia and you want an option to return to Australia, some customers say, okay, ship it back to our own fulfillment center in the States, or they can leverage one of our partners that have return centers in every major continent. So really, whatever you're looking for, we could find that. We have that solution for you.
That's good because I know, like I said, the Loop and the Happy Returns, these return bars that are available now at FedEx locations I know in the US for sure, and I think they're growing into Canada now, where literally you just can walk in and drop it off at any FedEx location, and they go into these Happy Return little totes. And then every couple of weeks, those are fulfilled back to the fulfillment center for that particular brand. And it's just, I don't know, there's just a whole angle of like less box and packaging and less shipping and fulfillment. Just return, no, just walk in and just drop it off. And then let's do one delivery, a return box or tote back to your warehouse, because returns is definitely something people have to consider. I remember I was managing a very large fashion brand also maybe about 3 or 4 years ago out of LA, 3 or 4 locations, but a massive online retailer, like, $250 million. And I went for a tour into their warehouse, and it was so interesting to see just the whole return. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the return section, it was like literally like a 40-foot container would come every 2 days. And there was a full staff of over 20 people just opening boxes, finding out if they can, what you do with it. Like the QA you just talked about, can it be reused? Can it be resealed? And then they have all these steamers and different things they're trying to do to, it's just.
It's great. It's a whole world, right? And to us, we bring partners. So that's either we can have basic returns, but if you want to actually go through the QAs, everything good, can you reship it? Do you have to liquidate it?
Yeah.
It is a whole deal. So there's either partners that we use to go very sophisticated and they can do all the QA stuff. Or if you want basic returns and sure, no problem. We have returns in Pennsylvania.
Cool. So the elephant in the room right now is BFCM. I think brands are, ramping up now, trying to figure out about how do we get the share. I think Harley Finkelstein, Shopify, he coined this term about the whole share of wallet. There's only so much share of wallet happening. And people are trying to think now about what is their promotional activities going to be for the holiday season. I'd like your take now. Is now really a good time? We're just getting into Q4. It's September right now as of this kind of recording release. And so knowing that, is there time to get involved with Portless? What's the lead time to get involved, and is now a good time to get involved?
Yeah, to me, and I think what we said before is lost opportunity is lost revenue and profit for your business. And when it comes to Christmas and Black Friday, Cyber Monday, many people take bets, but they also want to be safe. Now, being safe, I agree, reduces your downside, but also massively caps your upside. So the customers that we see that are talking to us today, and they're very excited, is let's just say you have 5,000 units of one of your best-selling items. If it's November 18th and you're sold out, in your current state, you're sold out. You're done for the season. If you would onboard with us, which takes a couple days, right? All you need is a Shopify app, Our contract is pay as you go. We're very cost-effective rates, $1 pick and pack, right? Cost-effective shipping rates. In that scenario, you could say you're sold on November 15th. You're speaking to your factory. You could restock, right? Remember, factories aren't busy in that time of year because they've shipped everything in advance, August, September, to hit the States for 60, 90-day delivery. So you could work with your factories and you could not be out of stock on November 15th. You could capture all your sales right to Christmas, right to, let's call it mid-December at a minimum, to capture that revenue without any massive risk on inventory. We think that's lost revenue because you're sold out is lost money to your bottom line. And that doesn't need to be the case in our model. So I would say, talk to us as you're out of stock, be integrated, you can restock within days and start selling again.
Okay, this is lovely. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm going to put a lot of the stuff in the show notes and stuff like that. I know we had a little chit chat kind of just before recording, and I understand that you actually want to show people, potential marketers and founders that are listening to this episode today, to saying, hey, let me show you exactly what the workflow is. This is a brilliant idea that you guys had. If this is something that's of interest to you, I'll pass the baton to you, but what do you want to do next with people so you can actually see how your fulfillment actually works?
Yeah, what we say is, if you're in this space, this is intriguing to you, reach out to us. Let's jump on a call. We encourage crawl, walk, run. We will send you packages from our fulfillment center. What you're going to see is that within 6 days, you're going to have a USPS driver delivered to your house. You're going to have a USPS tracking link to track it the whole way through. You're not going to see any Mandarin anywhere. You're going to have a fully localized experience. And I don't care if you live in the US or London, in England or Australia. You're going to have a fully localized experience, and that will blow your mind. And what we say is experience it yourself as a customer. You're going to be blown away. And then it will make it a no-brainer. For us, we're passionate about this industry. We know DTC is an incredible business. There's $176 billion done in the United States alone. So we have brands servicing that. But in today's model, cash flow is very hard and margins are tight. And we're saying there's a better way to do this where your customers are super happy. They have the same experience and you're going to run a more profitable business. So we're just passionate about DTC because I was in it for 10 years and running a more profitable business with this incredible service.
This is awesome. So I have the link to this little form that's been created. So I'll put it in the show notes. It's also, if you're just listening, you want to go directly now, ecommercefastlane.com/Portless. That will redirect you over to this form. And so you and your team, you're going to send a small free gift just so you can experience just kind of how Portless actually works. And you can get to see the whole workflow with a proper USPS label on it and our tracking information. And I think it's cool. You'll see that. And then I'll make sure I put all your details in the show notes too, how we can reach anybody interested that can reach out to you directly. And this has been very, very, very eye-opening. My opinion is, for those that are listening, is that this is a great opportunity right now, being pre-BFCM. If you know that there's going to be certain SKUs, it's almost like you're leveraging a bet that it's going to be doing well on certain SKUs, and you're hoping it's going to do certain knowing that you're still fulfilling from China directly because that's where your manufacturer is. Portless is a great opportunity, great rates, $1 for pick and pack. I mean, it's just, and plus it's 5 days, 6 days in North America. Times have changed. And I think Portless is really making a difference. This is fantastic. I want to thank you for sharing today. This is amazing.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me. And like you said, times have changed.
Yeah.
When it's like 1980s with containers changed manufacturing. This is going to change how people do e-commerce for the better and make companies more profitable and great unit economics and grow their businesses internationally, not just US. So,
this is amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again, Izzy. I really appreciate it. Have yourself an awesome day.
Thanks so much, Steve.
All right. Take care. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.